You are now listening to the Meat Pies podcast, your podcast for most things footy and few things pie. This is Gabe. Got the whole squad, the week, Forrest, Paul, Nico. Got a good episode today featuring some great Champions League action. My trip down to Old Trafford and a big match between City and Liverpool at Anfield ahead of the international break. Uh, but boys, first, new James Bond is out. How we doing?
Mm.
Time to die, baby.
Best,
Let's go.
best James since James Rodriguez.
Nick, I heard you're the new James Bond. You're in the running at least.
Oh yeah, I am. If no Idris Elba, only Louis.
I feel like
No,
James
absolutely
Bond
not.
would never wear a hat.
Absolutely not.
Too formal.
James Bond is definitely a Mariners fan. I'll tell you that right now.
Roll nerves, baby.
Maybe a top hat.
Why? Because he just likes to basically almost die like every single time there's anything that goes on.
No time to believe.
Well, yeah. Speaking of hats, if you're not watching us on YouTube right now, you're not getting the full glory of what is the Meat Pies podcast hat episode right now. Basically, just trying to tell y'all that we got all the domes covered today, but you wouldn't know that unless you're looking at us on YouTube right now. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find a lot of our best content on there.
Yeah,
we got a lot of good hats on the podcast today.
Peak hat content.
Yeah, all the cool kids are watching the hats, so get on it.
Yeah. Well, it was a really great weekend in the Prem. No cap, boys.
Nice
I
one.
actually hate you so much.
Bye
2
bye.
out of 10.
I'm out.
Logging
Please continue.
off now.
All right, we can restart the episode. All right, you're not listening to the Meat Pies podcast. Yeah, big weekend, and it's about to be a big rundown as well. It begins with your boy, me, running at 5:30 in the morning through Edinburgh to catch the train to Manchester in order to watch my Benitez-led Blues take on the Ole gang. Both teams had both teams had changes in the squad as Everton, more battered than a Twinkie at the Texas State Fair, were still without Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, Coleman, Gomez, and now Iwobi as well. Young Anthony Gordon started on the wing for Everton, while an old Anthony reared his shiny head on the equivalent ring for United, and El Matador replaced Ron Doggo up top. The match was back and forth until that man, Bald Tony, broke the deadlock just before the half with a well-struck ball that deflected past a flailing Pickford. However, Rafa Benitez has proven time and time again that he makes better adjustments than your favorite chiropractor, and Everton hit back through Andros Townsend, and a lethal counterattack finished off by the 30-year-old hitting one of the worst Sui celebrations of all time.
It's so bad.
Not good. Even he admitted it after the game. Everton thought that they had nicked all 3 points in the dying minutes of the match when Tom Davies squared a ball for Yerry Mina to tap home. But after Yerry Mina dug his way to victory in the Old Trafford corner, the goal was ruled offside, and the 2 goals were split at the final whistle, leaving Mancunians only able to utter "You Scouse bastard" to Abdoulaye Doucouré and Yerry Mina. Saturday continued with a slew of predictable outcomes, including victories for Chelsea at home against Southampton, for Leeds against Watford, and for Wolverhampton over Newcastle through 2 link-ups between Raul Jimenez and Korean winger Hee Chan Hwang. Then Arsenal, on the heels of last weekend's big result, traveled to the Amex, that fortress on the south coast where the Seagulls have been soaring. Graham Potter's men, more organized than Marie Kondo's sock drawer, were stout at the back and created some decent chances going forward, while the Gunners fired mostly blanks. In the end, the match finished a goalless draw, keeping Brighton in the top 6. Sunday posed the more interesting slate of matches as Braj and the struggling Foxes traveled Selhurst Park, where they took an early 2-goal lead through their pair of lethal strikers, Vardy and Dr. Kalechi. However, the Eagles fought back with second half goals from wonder kid Michael Elise and first team all-name midfielder Jeffrey Schlupp to earn themselves a point. A desperate Spurs side also hosted a Midlands club in London on Sunday, rolling out their new boys on the right side of the defense against Aston Villa and offering a little bit of Asher Roth inspired extra protection in the midfield with Skippy partnering Hoiberg. Yeah, little throwback there. It was the Dane who sent the Spurs into the lead in the first half with a nice strike and an assist from Son. Ollie Watkins equalized in the second, but Son, tired of the Spurs' mediocrity, went full South Korean super soldier and created another lead for the Spurs to hold on to. In the end, they take a much needed 3 points, 2-1 over Aston Villa. Also, Sunday afternoon was a battle between two London clubs with contrasting histories. Brentford traveled east to West Ham and snatched all 3 points in extra time through none other than last week's hero, Johan Visa, to have the bees buzzing harder than Wolf Blitzer's phone on election night. I'm on it today. Finally, finally on Sunday was the matchup we had all been waiting for as Pep and the Squeaks traveled to see Klopp and the Freaks in Liverpool. Both teams fielded strong lineups, and it was Pep City who came out swinging in the first half with nearly I'm sorry. I'll make it through with nearly all the possession in most of the play. But even without the glasses, Klopp's vision for his squad was clear to start the second, and they countered hard and struck first through a familiar special touch from a pair of in-sync seasoned wingers. City responded through a young gunning winger of their own. A one-fill Ronnie Foden got the band together like Ronnie Hawkins with a finish as sweet as strawberry wine. Make sure I look that one up later, by the way. The game became one full of quality and tight decisions in two players. The best two on the pitch stood above the rest as Mo Salah danced through the City defense and put Liverpool ahead with the best solo effort since Han. But the spoils were always meant to be split in this one, and a deflected strike from the Home Alone merchant himself, KDB, sailed past Allison and in the back of the net to end an incredible contest at 2 goals apiece. Great weekend, legendary rundown, great match, boys.
So happy that rundown's over. Just so happy.
That was actually, I'm not gonna lie, that was an all-time great. When you pull out a Marie Kondo joke, I knew it was going down.
Gabe is officially in mid-season form. I think we can declare that. Like
I'm hitting my stride. I'm not gonna lie.
He's found the rhythm. Like,
but yeah. I mean, fantastic match. Could we say, like, would you all say these are the two best teams in the league? And if so, who do you think goes on to win the title? Nico, I see you shaking your head.
I
saying nah.
I think 2 of the top 3, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't count Chelsea out of that conversation.
No.
I will say 2 teams that play the most attractive football, absolutely. And I think I honestly think this game was maybe like a top 5 or 6 match that I've seen in my entire life. The amount of class on the field today was just absurd. There was
yeah. I loved this game. Like that first half, I didn't know what to expect after the whistle blew. But damn, both squads just came out swinging, and I think that Mogul was his best goal I've ever seen him score, like hands down. That was, and I think one thing I noticed from this match was like some of the skills that these players have on par with Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Like Bernardo Silva's dribbling in that first half was mind-boggling, and Phil Foden, I still cannot believe he's 21. He was maybe the best player on that pitch for a good period of that time. And then, Mo Salah, just his one-on-one ability, his touches are just so deft. That was a really fun game to watch. And I was even watching with my Liverpool roommate, and no matter what happened, like I think we were just so happy to have the privilege to watch that.
Yeah, this is slightly off topic, but um I want to give a little bit of credit to the good people over at EA and FIFA because I think they put Bernardo Silva in the top 5 of dribbling this year. I think he might have been like top 3, and I didn't really know he was such a good. I don't know why I hadn't really noticed before like how good of a dribbler he was until I saw that, and then I feel like the past 2-3 weeks. I mean, today, a couple of those runs were insane, but I've really been noticing how good of a dribbler he is. So I feel like we complain about FIFA ratings all the time, but yeah, those good people at EA, they put in some of the hard hours on the tape. Just wanted to say that. But yeah, no, I mean, incredible match. I don't know if I'd should I say like I mean, it could be one of the better matches I've ever seen. But does anyone have any like maybe differing thoughts on if these two teams are actually, the two best title contenders?
I'm with
It's
Nico.
hard to say
like,
they're not, as far as you can
yeah.
go.
I was just saying, I'm with Nico. Like, we can't really count out Chelsea, but I mean, I didn't get to watch like the whole match, but I caught all the highlights. And like you guys said, just the pure class on the pitch. Like, I love watching sports when it's like the two like peak talents going at it. And it's hard to walk away from the match for sure, thinking anything else that these two will be in it at the end of the season.
Yeah,
Unless,
I feel like
injuries. Like that's the only thing.
yeah. Unless Pickford. I think
What?
I think that this game was good, but like especially as it like the first like half hour, there were so many mistakes, and I feel like that made it feel better than it was. Like I think that there were so many giveaways. Like City literally couldn't stop giving the ball away, and not even like because Liverpool was pressing really well, they just kept turning it over. And Liverpool ended up doing the same thing a lot of the time, like from Allison mainly, but like also in their midfield, just taking another touch and Jordan Henderson like gets it swiped off of him, and then City are on the counter. And I think that made for like a really exciting game, but it's hard to say that I think either of these teams are better than Chelsea after watching them play today. That's my opinion.
There's definitely quite a bit of sloppiness, like especially early on, but that's just because both teams are like going like gas, like full gas, 100% for all 90 minutes. And there's definitely going to be some nerves in the beginning of that. Like when you go into a match that hyped up, I think Pep has always said away at Liverpool is the toughest match of the year. Like there's definitely like so much adrenaline and so many nerves going in. I don't know about nerves because these are professional footballers who play on the biggest stage, but just a lot of adrenaline, and it often takes a little bit of time to like really settle into the match. But and I mean, we saw that from both sides. It was 0-0 at the half. City definitely had the upper hand, and got to credit Klopp with his halftime adjustments there to take the lead after what I thought was some dominance from City. But yeah, I'm with Paul. I think Chelsea have obviously a very different philosophy, but I think that makes them a little bit more built for the long haul, and potentially I still think they're the favorite, but these two teams absolutely play the most attractive football in the Prem, potentially the world, and just excited to see them play again later on in the season, honestly, after watching that.
Yeah, I think one thing that I learned about myself and this game was this is a game comprised of like the two sides that have players that piss me off the most. I don't know why, but Hendo just pisses me off. Something about his energy. I'm like, your
Honestly,
face when you, huh?
I said me too. I think.
Yeah, I think it's like you get this sense that like obviously this is such an overread, right? So take this with a grain of salt. But I get the sense that like as a player, like he's just like you're supposed to feel bad for him a little bit, and he gets fouled like in the midfield or thinks he gets fouled, and then he starts screaming at the ref like his head's about to blow off. And like, okay, I'm all for the big energy, but you're professional. Like you're pissing me off. And then Robbo pisses me off. I don't like his death stares when he like gets pushed off the ball. Gabriel Jesus, your face annoys me. So, and you also, huh?
I just said, all right.
I mean,
Pick
it's
them
my
off
little,
one by one.
it's my little rant that I wanted to go into because, I mean, you can kind of just see the egos like in the players, like in the little shots of them at field level. But I did want to make the Hendo comment because he gets so much like ass kissing and he annoys me sometimes. Also, I think we need to talk about that James Milner foul because that was one of the worst refereeing decisions I've ever seen, literally ever. And that would have easily given City the win. So
deserved a second yellow in my opinion as well.
yeah, Paul.
Definitely deserved a free kick. It was kind of looking in real time, like you could tell it was a foul, and it just sucks so bad that like Foden knew it was a foul. Like everyone knew it was a foul, but he tried to keep playing, realized he couldn't, and the ref's like, "Oh, never mind."
Oh well, I was also thinking about the Bernardo Silva foul, where he sticks his leg out behind his own leg to trip him on the break. That could have also been a yellow. I think the Foden one. I think the Foden one could have. I think that given the position on the field where it was, I think that would have been a yellow. It wasn't cynical or anything, but
yeah,
he was in on goal. Foden's just like a beast and doesn't flop. And then, the other one was just lazy defending. You don't defend like that. You don't stick your leg behind your leg as a professional on one of the best dribblers in the world. And
yeah.
I think that bugged me because I could see it in Pep. I mean, Pep got that yellow for smack talking, but that was some bull. That was definitely some bull.
Yeah, I kind of want to bring up quickly some other players on City. And I want to just address the way City played a little bit today because, like, Cancelo was unreal. I brought him into my fantasy team, and, like, the whole game, I was just like, he's going to do something. Doesn't. But he also was, like, a little bit of a liability on one of their goals and, like, defensively can be a liability. I also want to quickly talk about like Grealish playing in the false nine. Like I feel like that didn't work at all. Like I feel like I didn't really see much of anything from him. And I think City it's tough for me to say, but like I think they might be eating their words just a little bit on like doubling down on not having a striker. I don't think it's like as revolutionary as Pep might have thought it is. I think they really struggled today. I don't see why they didn't just play Jesus in that false nine, Foden on the right, Grealish on the left. That seems to make way more sense, but he doesn't do it. He obviously is a little more qualified to talk about this than I am, just barely. But those are also some things that I picked up from this game that I thought were kind of questionable. And I feel like City could have done. I feel like there was opportunity for City to do more that they didn't quite seize.
Yes, I agree. For me, I think the one change that I would love to see City implement more is putting Ferran Torres in that role. I don't understand why. I just feel like he's never really gotten a string of games like at striker, and I think it's really hard to come into that position and like take it by storm in the Premier League if you're not getting a string of games. But to me, like he seems like their most practical threat in that position, and then that gives you the opportunity to play Foden and Grealish on either wing, and let them run in behind. Because I think while like overloading them on a side is great and really dangerous, like I think they're both at their best when they have space to operate, and Foden can play on either wing as we've seen. So that's what I would personally really like to see. I think Jesus has been really good on that right wing, created another goal today. The goal for Foden was a really good move by Jesus, but I just think Grealish and Foden are their best options on the wing, and I think Grealish would be more comfortable out there. I think Torres is better than Jesus in that nine, in my personal opinion. We've seen what Jesus can do in that nine. It's not a whole lot. So yeah, that's what I would love, maybe against like a softer run of games, to see Torres like really get a run at it and get a chance to go for it.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I mean, he was bagging goals early in the season. He was looking really
Facts.
promising for them. So I don't really understand why Pep kind of withdrew him a little bit. One thing, I mean, we could talk about City's depth all day. I mean, their wing depth is just incomparable. You know, they had sitting on their bench today Ferran Torres, Riyad Mahrez, Raheem Sterling, and I think one thing that I found interesting is no one talks about Riyad Mahrez anymore. But watching City PSG this week, it was very clear to me that he is a more productive winger than Jack Grealish is. As incredible as Jackie is, you know, he is new to this team. And I think Mahrez would have been a huge help in this matchup. You know, they did create a lot, right? And Raz found some space in behind the lines at one point, but I don't know. I just think the guy deserves a little more appreciation because no matter how much he loses the ball, he's really a great creative player on that wing.
Wait, really, really quickly, Nico, before you jump in, I do want to say that Grealish on the left against PSG was going up Hakimi, and Hakimi is like maybe the best right back in the world. And like
Yeah,
Marquinhos on that side as well.
true.
So
He was milling
like
it
really
today.
difficult. But I will say, like, I think Guy was on the other side, where Mahrez was, and Guy's a little more defensive minded than Ander. So, you know, tough on both sides, obviously, but either way, I do
Fair.
think there might have been a little more space on that right side. I don't know.
I
Sorry.
love
Go
that.
ahead,
No,
Nico.
that's
I love
fair.
that his name is Guy. It's just I love
Guy.
but yeah, I think to be fair, like that is sort of it's the problem that every manager wants to have is too much quality, and I think anyone can agree that Grealish, Foden, Mahrez, like whatever combo you want, they all probably play best on the wing, and you're just gonna have to rotate. That's just the nature of the sport. And you can argue that the game against PSG on Tuesday was equal, or Wednesday, I don't remember which day that was. Is equally as important as this match versus Liverpool. So I wouldn't necessarily say like Pep is prioritizing one or the other, but yeah, I think what I really, really appreciated about this game was just like the amount of, I think I said this earlier, but the amount of class and quality on the pitch, but specifically the superstars were just basically handing the torch off to one another. Foden dominates for 15 minutes, then Salah dominates for 20 minutes, then De Bruyne dominates for 10 minutes. Jota was in there, moments of brilliance. Bernardo, moments of brilliance. So yeah, I just really, really love that. And that goal from Salah was just absurd, just absolutely absurd. I think we were talking about him not getting enough respect on this podcast last week, or just in general, really. But that was definitely one of the more impressive goals I've seen this year and just recently in my recent football memory.
Yeah, that's an absolute banger. I do want to say though, like while there were moments of brilliance, like De Bruyne was not that good today. I'll be the first to say it. Like I didn't think he was that good. He was kind of making mistakes. He kind of looked a step behind everyone else. And I feel like we don't really recognize when he plays like that because it's not that often. But I certainly thought he was like that today.
I think it's kind of been all season, to be honest. At least the past few matches, like I don't really think he looks like himself. I wonder if they maybe rushed him back a little bit. I mean, you know, it's been a long time since the Champions League final. It's
Mm-hmm.
been a long time since, you know, the Euro quarters or whatever that was. But still, he's had a really physical summer, and you know, he's not old, but he is a player who plays in a physical league in a physical position. And yeah, I wonder if he's fully back up to pace. Might be 100%, but it might just kind of take him time to get readjusted. But I agree with you.
Yeah, and last topic on the city formation. I'm interested to see if Pep's going to experiment with putting Grealish at one of the attacking midfield positions at like the 8 or the 10 again, and just try that a little bit more, because it really has only been a couple of games still, and definitely recognize that his best position is the wing, but I think there's room to explore more there. I think in all, it was an absolute cracker of a match. Both managers seemed to be, wanting to go for the win, but happy with the draw. I was joking that Pep and Klopp were kissing after the game, because they embraced for quite a little bit and were exchanging some friendly banter. And those two aren't always the most friendly with each other. So that was funny to see. I think transitioning on to the next game, Gabe, I'll let you start this one off because you were there. How was
I
that?
was there. It was pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I got up, yeah, like five in the morning. Ran down to the train station. It's about a 3-hour train from Edinburgh to Manchester. Got tickets on like Twitter
Easy.
a couple days before. Got my train tickets a couple days before. Tried to convince people to go with me, to no avail. So yeah,
I
took
would
a
have came
solo
with
trip.
you
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
if I lived within 4,000 miles. But yeah.
took a solo trip. And yeah, for starters, so I got off at the station in Manchester, walked like 45 minutes to the stadium along the canal. It was really quiet in Manchester, along the canal, so it was really nice. The stadium, I will say, I want to do a quick little stadium review. I'm gonna make, by the way, follow us on
Yes.
TikTok. Well, follow us on TikTok, because I'm gonna do like a full-blown stadium review on there for every stadium I go to, and Old Trafford will be the first, at Meat Pies Pod on TikTok. But just a quick one for the podcast here. The outside of the stadium, I like wasn't actually that impressed with, like aesthetically, wasn't all that pleasing. Didn't really have like the aura I kind of thought it would have, but like inside definitely had that buzz. I'd read up a little bit beforehand, did the old pros trick, and got my meat pie before the start of the first half. I got a United pie. I didn't know it was a United pie. I could have gotten any of the other pies, but it's called a United pie, so I had to get it.
Let's
It's
go.
like chili. It's like meat, like chili and cheese. So it's like kind of
Oh.
spicy. It's not spicy, but apparently the pies are like molten lava levels of hot. The United pies are like infamous. So like I pocketed it for the entire first half to keep my hands warm, and then I ate it at halftime. Yeah, so pro tip, pie was pretty good. Shout out to the pie. Yeah, Nico, do you want to go ahead and jump in?
I was just curious, for our listeners in the States, and for, for me, someone who hasn't had the privilege of traveling to the UK and attending a Premier League match, how would you compare the stadium itself to like the stadiums we have here in the States, and just like the atmosphere in general?
To be honest, I've never been to an NFL game, so and that would probably be like maybe
Really?
most comparable. Besides, I mean, like
But
Savannah, Georgia.
how about Gold Cup at Allegiant?
Gold Cup was Gold Cup was electric. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude,
Go-
I still
Gold Cup
talk about
was
it.
Gold Cup was kind of different level. But like in terms of an actual like home like club atmosphere, you can go around Europe and get some good ones, but England is really special. In my opinion, I think maybe a college football game would be like the closest comparison to the States. The stadiums, I mean, we were so spoiled at University of Washington. Like Husky Stadium is
Oh my
such a beautiful
God.
stadium.
I miss it
Most
dearly.
college stadiums do not look like that. But in especially in the UK, like a lot of the stadiums kind of have like the grounds have like a lot of history kind of baked into them. And so Old Trafford is 20, 30 years old, I want to say. But you can still feel that they take that history really seriously. There's statues everywhere. The stands are named after certain people. Like, things still have a certain look about them where they're functional, but you're peeing in troughs. Like like they still keep like that true feel about it. It's very, if you're claustrophobic, don't go to a match. Like where like the food stands are and stuff, it's not like American stadiums where there's all this space and like it's like very enclosed. You can't take your beer into the stands in England. So you have to drink it like
Ooh,
in the stall. And
interesting.
you could tell at a United match. I knew that from going to an Everton match previously, but and it's been like a hotly contested rule in England for a while. I think it's a bit attached. Sorry, we're getting way off topic, but I think it's a bit attached to sort of like incidents in the 70s, 80s, 90s where like Hillsborough, where fans like actually died at a match, and it was sort of like the blame was sort of pushed to fans being drunk, and not to like stadiums not being safe. So I think to like prevent bottles being thrown and fans from getting too intoxicated during matches, they make them. But like I don't think if you go to a match, you can tell it doesn't stop anyone from getting
Right.
as buzzed as they want to. But yeah, you could tell there were a lot of tourists at the United game because so many people got their beers and tried to walk into the stands, and like the attendants are stopping like everyone being like, yep,
Amateurs.
camp. So yeah, experience was great. I couldn't sit in the Everton end because away tickets are really hard to get, especially for like big matches like this. Everyone wants to go to Old Trafford. So I was sitting in enemy territory. I made sure not to sit in the Stratford end where all the crazy fans are, but there were some loud boys on either side of me. Like the loudest people in our entire section, just like these lads were on either side of me.
Let's
Um,
go.
and it was honestly really obnoxious. I like moved to the row behind me after the first half. But yeah, the scenes in the Everton end at the Townsend goal were absolutely electric. The United fans on the whole, like, good. But yeah, I have some other like quick little hitters here.
Yeah, go for it.
I mentioned earlier, so much Patriots gear in
That's so
Manchester, like
disgusting.
so on point. Like it's so funny to me. I almost roasted all of them, but I kind of wanted to lay low because of the like rooting for Everton thing. I wore neutral colors and everything. But then like before the match when the lineup came out, I don't know if I told any of you, but I told my brother 2 days before when I decided I was going to the match. I knew Ronaldo wasn't going to start. I just knew it. Like it just had to be like the one match I go to at Old Trafford. Ronaldo's not going to start, and like I mean he had played like 6 games on the bounce to start his United return, so I kind of had a feeling he wouldn't. But yeah, that was kind of a bummer. Still got to see him like warm up, and like he was incredible in warm-ups, and then he came on, played 35 minutes or whatever, was incredible when he came on, so cannot complain at all. United still a team full of stars. Pogba didn't start either though, which kind of stunk. But as soon as I saw the lineup though, they also, something about the stadiums, they have betting stalls in the stadiums.
Ooh.
And as soon as I saw the lineup, I was like, Martial is going to score. Like I knew he was going to score, and I almost went to the stall and placed a bet, but I had like this split moment of clarity where I was like, okay, if you go place a bet, like you're not going to be able to enjoy the match. Like you're only going to be thinking about your bet hitting. And I'm like, part of me is like really kicking myself that I didn't place his bet, because like Godfrey has been kind of shaky on the right, and our defense on the whole has been really shaky on that side, just without like a natural right back and a lot of rotation on that wing. So yeah, I knew in Martial, like Everton is just like a perfect club for him to score against, scored against us in the FA Cup last year. But yeah, knew he was going to score, didn't place the bet, kicking myself on that. But cool, you can bet in the stadium.
That is really cool, actually.
The last thing I'll say is that as the match sort of like digressed for United fans into what was becoming obviously like a decent Everton result, the chant of "You Scouts bastards" became more and more popular, like towards the away end and towards Everton players and stuff. And I found it really interesting. I can get more into like the geopolitical sort of dynamics maybe another time, but like I found it interesting for a couple reasons. One, the word bastards kind of turned into the C word a lot of times towards the end of the match as well. But like there's these 4 or 5 dudes with really thick Indian accents sitting like a row in front of me, and they're just like screaming "You Scouse bastards" at like the Liverpudlians. And it was really funny to me, like, these are all people kind of from the north. Like I think people in the south of England and London would kind of classify them almost sort of all the same, but you could tell in Manchester there's just like a slight air of, I don't want to say arrogance, but like we're kind of better than you, a little more put together than you than the Scouse.
Is it the
Um,
Coast West Coast stuff?
I mean they're both on the west coast of England, I
I'm
believe.
talking. I mean,
Um,
like East Coast versus West Coast for the U.S.
a little bit. I think it's just like Manchester is maybe a little more aesthetically pleasing than Liverpool in some ways. I mean, I don't know. Like both cities are
I
good
think there
cities,
might be
but
more. I think there might be more money in Manchester, and
there is
I
more
think
money.
I
Yeah.
think that could cause a lot of like
Strife.
just like discrimination between
Liverpool's
the
like more
citizens
blue
there and the
collar,
citizens
right?
somewhere else.
They're both very blue collar.
Uh-huh.
I mean, as like the North is on the whole, like both, kind of
Right.
we're living off like the ports and everything
Yeah.
in the 20th century. But yeah, I think Manchester is a little more money. You walk around the city, it's a little
Mhm.
things are a little newer. But yeah, like having fans yelled at like Abdoulaye Doucouré, like a player of like West African descent, like from France, who like he's just not Scouse. Like I
Yeah,
don't
I
know. Like
know.
it's
It's
just
like yelling
really
at a
funny.
It's not
freaking like
landing.
Moise Keane. Everyone like screams at him, and he kind of like owns the identity. But it's a very similar thing where it's like this doesn't really feel accurate. I don't know.
No, but on the whole, I think Manchester United, not Manchester on the whole, but Manchester United is really unique because for me, I think they're like the Dallas Cowboys of like the Premier League, not in the sense that like they like are a disappointment and like I had success or whatever, but in the sense that they're like sort of I think like equivalent with or uh not equivalent, but like they just are sort of associated with like the British dream, I think. Like
Uh,
the crowd was really multicultural. It was a lot of people who I think in my personal opinion didn't seem like they were lifelong man, I guess it's man, how do you say it,
Mancunians
Mancunians, yeah. Thank
or
you. And
Mancunians, I'm not sure.
something like that, yeah. But also a lot of lifelong Mancunians as well, like a lot of old bald white dudes, but at the same time like a
Yeah.
lot of people of South Asian descent, a lot of people of Middle Eastern descent, all there, like really crazy passionate United fans. So I think the club on the whole like kind of represents this time in British history where like imperialism, colonialism kind of ended, and all of a sudden like people had an opportunity to like rally around the same sort of successful thing as other people who had been identified for forever as British. So yeah, really interesting, like sort of just people watching, and interesting crowd, but great crowd, great match. Yeah, sorry, that was
That's
mostly
super
not
yeah,
about
interesting.
the
that was
match,
great.
but
That's
I love that,
awesome.
Gabe.
Fantastic
of
analysis.
course. And
It's really
last thing,
interesting that yeah, no, you go.
wait, no, sorry. This I actually about the match, unless you want to talk more about the stadium and stuff
No.
first. Did you want to say something else?
No, go ahead.
McFred gets way too much hate, like way
Yeah.
too much hate. Like I moved from like all the kind of really laddie boys because for whatever reason there was 3 seats in the row behind me that were empty, and I started talking to this guy named John. John, I'm sorry that if you're listening that you think I'm a neutral. I was not neutral. I'm an Everton supporter. Um, but I was having to bite my tongue so hard during the match, especially when we like took the lead. At least I thought we did. Like I was like, but uh but he was sort of like making the point to me, and it's so true. Like Fred like makes mistakes and turns the ball over because he's around the action. Like no other player on United besides kind of McTominay gets in the action as much as Fred, and then no other player has to possess it in such tight spaces as Fred. Like when Pogba's in there, he's just not in the scrums like that. And Fred is literally everywhere on the pitch. There were so many impressive players, but but Fred like covers so much ground. Every single scrap for the ball, and no matter where it is on the pitch, he finds himself in it. And like, yes, like there are times he can be more composed in possession, but like he gets so much hate for turning the ball over, but that ball wouldn't even be able to be turned over if it weren't for Fred winning that ball in the first place. So the man, in my opinion, gets like a lot of there's a video went viral after the match of like these 10-year-old United fans talking about Ole out and how like McFred is dead and all this stuff. And like, you know, and I swear you can look
That's
it up.
awesome.
It's like Arsenal fan TV type of like United post match, like
I'm
outside the
finding
stadium.
this.
And but to me, it's like such like BS, you know, people, it's just a hot thing to say. And everyone, you can hear the moans behind you every time Fred touches the ball, like in the stadium. But I think it's a bit unwarranted. I think, you know, Ole can change the formation, change the system, change the personnel. He can take Fred out. I think he should a lot of times, but like while he's on the pitch, man gets too much hate.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's true. I feel like it's kind of just a popular thing to dislike him, which is annoying. And like you can have some really like valid reasons for doing so. But the way you brought that up, cheers, John. The way you brought that up is like really interesting because he is undoubtedly like him, and like if Cavani's on the field, if Bruno's on the field, like he's like the hardest worker by far. And there's a reason that he's all over the place. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword where that's amazing. And he finds himself in action a lot, but like it also means he drags himself into bad action a lot. You know, him being in the action isn't actually always a good thing. But I think especially because nobody else quite has that fire in that position, sometimes I think he feels like he needs to put out every fire, which inevitably leads, like he just creates a fire. You know what I mean? But I think what I want McTominay to be that, because I feel like McTominay is really good, but really like a little more withheld and a little more controlled than Fred. But if he can just be a little more active, he has plenty of sauce, Nico. Don't even put that in the chat. I feel like he could be like a more athletic, like Declan Rice, if he played a little differently. And that's what I want, and that's why like I think he should stay in the lineup and Fred should leave for Pogba or Donny. Because if he played like that, it would free up so much safety to have like a Pogba in there. But because he can't, and because Fred can't on his own either, you kind of need someone else to do it.
I wanted to actually bring this up and you reminded me, but Ole's comments this week about Donny, kind of weird. All the stuff where he was like, I've been a sub more than any player in the club's history. Just a very odd thing for a manager to say about his own player, and very defensive. It felt very defensive, if you ask me. And I mean, it baffles me how he's not getting playing time. It truly does. And it feels very much like a Mourinho Dele situation. I don't know what the training sessions are like or whatever, but you dropped like 45 million on this incredible midfielder who's young and can provide exactly what you need, and you are exiling him. And then when he wants to play, when he's showing his desire to play, you get on the defensive end. It's very weird, and it really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I think it's been easy to, kind of look past it last year just and think that, it's a really competitive squad and it's difficult to adjust to the Premier League early on. But I'm looking at their Champions League match versus Villarreal on Wednesday, and it's tied 1-1. And 75th minute, Ole decides to bring on Nemanja Matic for Jadon Sancho and Fred. So it's like, obviously, no disrespect to those two players, great players, but if you're trying to push for a win, and they're lucky that Cristiano Ronaldo and Jesse Lingard saved them, but like you could see, there's that viral clip of his frustration on the sideline, just in utter disbelief and just pain. Like, you can see how upset he is at the situation on the bench being televised on national TV. I feel for the lad, and I really do think that it's time for him to potentially evaluate his options soon.
Come to Everton. He was linked. He was linked there at the end.
He would ball. He would ball.
I would definitely take him. I don't really know exactly like where like maybe he would fit sort of in between Decore and Allen. Like we would kind of have him playing like a more sort of attacking role then. But Allen's also like he's been amazing this season, but he's definitely getting later in the years. But last couple of things. I think all this just says to me like Ole still doesn't really have an identity for the team, and Ole's comments didn't show a lot of confidence in himself. I think Manchester supporters feel that, the first half of the match, tons of Ole songs and chants. Second half of the match, not many Ole songs and chants in the stadium. It's really difficult because United at this point, like they just can't afford to sack the guy. Like this is something that he's going to see through. But he needs to like show some grit and like make tough decisions and be firm. But when the team doesn't even have like a play style, it's hard to imagine that he's actually going to do that. So yeah, I think, I mean, it was really obvious during the match that Everton were better. Like Everton were straight up better, and they were missing. And you could hear like the craziest thing to me was you could literally hear like the supporters behind me were all saying like this is Everton. I kept on hearing one guy over and over again to say this is Everton without like 4 of their 5 best players. And they're like better than us right now. And I was like really surprised that like people were admitting that, but it was true. Like it was straight up true. No Richarlison, no DCL, like no Iwobi, who's been maybe like one of our best players this season, no Coleman, and we should have won. Like like straight up, we should have taken 3 points at Old Trafford. So yeah, this is definitely a United team, not a lot of identity, and I think that's why Fred, at least like someone takes some ownership, even if it's like bad ownership a lot of times. Like maybe you don't want that ball, like maybe you want to like concede that possession and like sit back for a second and then like actually have quality possession going forward. I don't know, but I think either way, it's time for it to be figured out. And maybe you should put on some Decore tape. Just want to say Abdoulaye Decore in person, man, is an absolute baller, such a baller. That's all I want to say. He's so sick right now.
Sissoko.
Yeah, I mean maybe better.
I heard he's a Scouse bastard though, so I don't
know. Well, on that, like I think other results this weekend, some interesting ones, but for the most part, things kind of went predictably. I think the only thing that's been surprising me really is Leicester's struggles, but I think at some point they'll kind of turn it around here.
They're really missing Wesley Fofana. They're really missing him. I can really tell. And Soyuncu's been bad. Yeah,
it's what we talked about last year. Like if you want to be a competitive team in this league, you need like 4 good center backs, and they're really feeling that right now. So yeah, I will say that's like one spot where Everton like are okay sometimes. Yeah. No, you really need a lot of center backs,
especially considering they had a 2-0 lead in the 60th minute and they weren't able to hold on. That is tough. Good shout to Jamie Vardy though. A lot of people have been writing him off, saying he looks old. He looks a step slower than he used to, but he is currently at the top of the Premier League goal scoring Golden Boot race with Mo Salah at 6 in 6 and 7 matches. So cheers, Jamie.
I just transferred him out of my FPL to get Ronaldo in. He scores like 3 and 3.
Why?
Like,
why would you do that? I've learned.
It was Ronaldo.
I've learned about FPL. Like I looked at my team and I was like, I don't have very many City players. I don't have very many Chelsea attackers. I don't have very many United attackers. And with FPL, you kind of just have to choose the players who are guaranteed to be the only goal scorers for their team. And that's why I have like Vardy and Antonio up top, and it just consistently works. So, little
You're
tip.
so smart, Louis.
I know, right?
I think, I think getting into the other matches a little bit, I think we can go pretty quickly through these. That Arsenal Brighton match was a bit of a chess match. Definitely some pretty solid opportunities for both sides. Brighton continue to show their quality. I've been impressed with them all year. I think that they seem to at least be a top half of the table side this year. We'll see if they can continue this, but hats off to Graham Potter. I think he's done a great job this year. Anything you guys want to say about that match?
I'm just happy we didn't concede. I think we've conceded 1 goal in 4 matches, which is really good for an Arsenal back line. And yeah, we weren't clinical up front, but it was a chess match, and Brighton was really, really tight on every single one of our men. It was really hard to build out of the back. And I think they really just took us by storm. I think playing at the Amex is a really difficult game. So I'm not too disappointed. It was a little disappointing coming off the high of last weekend, but we just go into the next one.
Absolutely. We move. And as we said last week, Spurs, it's going to be up and down season. The response is pretty good today. It looked much, much better. There was definitely more positive attacking football that I've seen today, than the last 4 or 5 matches combined. So that was awesome. Sonny was absolutely on it today. I think Dean Smith gave him a big shout, said he was the absolute difference in this one. I think I called for it last week, wanted to see that Skip Hoiberg duo and the pivots back with Tanguy in front of them, giving them the 10. And that's what Nuno tried today. And although I don't think Tanguy had necessarily his best game or had the biggest influence over that one, the team as a whole looked good, and I will absolutely take those 3 points.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when I saw that Hoiberg curled that ball in to open the scoring. Like, I didn't really know he had that in him, so that was kind of cool to see. But yeah,
I can hit him.
Yeah, it's just like he never. I don't know. I mean, I think he knows it's like not his game. He doesn't really take those chances hardly ever, but he's good for like a couple of a year for sure.
We'll just sometimes randomly find himself at the edge of the 18 and then might get a little crazy with it.
No, that was but yeah, he, like you said, Sonny looked amazing. And I mean, I feel good this week. It's going to be a roller coaster next week, I'm sure.
Week to week,
we'll be
baby.
right back on the misery probably. But 1 week at a time.
Yeah, and I think last shout of the weekend definitely goes to Brentford, who were able to pull out a last-minute victory against West Ham. That was awesome. I didn't catch that last goal, but I was kind of following the game. I know, Gabe, you were watching it. What was that like?
I mean, honestly, I was just watching literally that last couple minutes because I switched over from the Spurs game, I think. But it's just like they just got it right now. I don't know. It's just whatever that juju is. They just got it. Like the limbs and the away end were awesome. And Visa is just like he's just I don't know. It's like okay, he should start, but no, because like that striker partnership is so great right now up top. So yeah, I mean, they got a good thing going. They're well organized. Like even just to be in a 1-1 position with West Ham late is away is great, and then to give themselves an opportunity to win and take it. It was a great strike. I don't know if you saw it. Like it was a really good save off like a free header on a free kick, and then like follow up rebound, like great strike into the ground. So yeah.
Quick shouts to Brentford. My new FIFA 22 Ultimate team is Brent Town, led by Ivan Toney. So just beat out a side with Pele, Phil Foden, and Mbappe with them.
Okay. Who
Yeah,
else
no
is on
big
your
deal.
team?
My striker duo right now is Lewis Grabin and Ivan Toney. And then I have my lone player on my left back is Alfonso Davies. I've only played
course.
3 games so far, and it's a blast. So hit me up on FIFA
Tony.
22. Y'all better buy it.
Tony's quite a player. I've really enjoyed watching him. He's just kind of a beast, like physically.
He is.
He's imposing.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. Really quickly, there was some really big Champions League action. Oh wait, sorry, I skipped over. Do we want to do Meaty Man now?
Let's do Meaty Man.
Yeah, run it.
Am I taking it or is Loic taking it? Since Loic, you
I
read
can
this.
I can read it. I'll read it.
Yeah,
Get
mix
a
it
little
up.
meaty, Loic.
I'll get a
Mix
little
it up.
meaty with it.
Mix it up.
So
Maybe smoke a couple cigs and drink a bottle of whiskey first. Get that voice couple octaves lower.
here I got my LaCroix. Here we go.
Close enough.
Unit.
Beast.
Okay. I was feeling pretty gracious today. There's a club on this podcast that we rarely discuss. And this week's Meaty Man has demonstrated power and finesse for said club. No, it is not Mo Salah for Liverpool. No, it is not Phil Foden for Manchester City, but rather it is Andros Townsend for his 10,000th club, Everton. It seems as if the hopes were not too high for the Toffees after a summer window robber baron by Inter Milan. They spent only 1.3 million, lost their Lord and Savior Carlo, their star player who lives in Qatar now, and hired their arch nemesis as their manager. They signed a forgotten Damari Gray, an aging keeper in Begovic, and a Premier League head, the one and only Andros. This is his 13th club. He is 30. He's played for 13 clubs. And he still impresses us with 30-yard bangers, dynamic movement, and comfort with the English game. This weekend, he scored the game-tying goal against a revamped United side. He iced it out with a mock and, might I add, just horrid sweet in front of Old Trafford. And the rest of Saturday was history. Sweet. Andros, keep doing your thing. While the footballing world may not appreciate you as much as they should, just know that we and Gabe at the Meat Pies will always show our love.
And just
He's
Townsend.
got one meaty forehead. Can I just say, like, it's so cringy and just like I hate that like everybody that plays United like does that celebration. I'm like, dude, get something original. Like, what? I don't even think Ronaldo was on the field. Like,
Doesn't matter.
He was.
oh, that's probably why. It's so annoying. Oh my god, grinds my gears.
Townsend said it was out of respect, and like Townsend got Ronaldo's kit
Respect.
after the match.
That's pretty cool then.
Yeah, so like I think Ronaldo has like a little bit of respect for Townsend. I agree with you.
If it was really out of respect, he would have actually done it properly. You know,
he tried that. That's literally Anders Townsend doing this sweet.
Like most things, no one can do it better than Ronaldo.
True.
Elite Selly.
He would have taken his shirt off and gotten a 12-pack before the game if he actually wanted to do it, right?
Yeah, commit for
Like a
once.
true professional.
He did. He does have the specialty Ronaldo hair transplant, though, I will say. But yeah, do we really quick want to jump into a little champs? I think Paul is gonna have to bounce, so we can hit a couple dingers. Bad time though,
Better hit
because
some dingers for us.
Yeah, I'll come back with a full rundown of how beers to dingers ratio.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go.
I love to hear.
All right.
bad time.